There is a strange paradox in the way many lives are organized. In public, there is constant talk about serving clients, serving companies, serving missions, serving family. Whole careers are built around learning how to understand, respect, and anticipate what others need. Yet in private, the one being served the least is often the one carrying everything, the inner life, the body that never really rests, the nervous system that absorbs every demand, the soul that is always told to wait just a little longer. Deep down, a quiet question keeps echoing. If service is such a noble value, why is there so little true service to self? This exploration is about turning that logic inside out. Instead of client service in the usual sense, it looks at self-service in a spiritual psychological sense. The art of serving this own life with the same respect and care that would be given to a precious client. Not in a self-centered, only this matters way, but in the sense that any sustainable service to the world depends on how interior life is being treated. A system constantly abandoned internally cannot offer deep presence externally for long. Learning the secrets of optimal self-service is not a luxury. It is the foundation for everything else. The first secret is deceptively simple: speaking to self without jargon. In professional settings, jargon creates distance. It hides behind complex words what could be said more clearly. The same happens internally. Many carry a quiet vocabulary for their own experience that is vague and harsh. Not enough, failure, disappointed, weak, behind. These words are so habitual that they feel like simple descriptions rather than judgments. Optimal self-service begins with a different language. Instead of heavy abstractions, experience is named concretely. Tired, overstimulated, sad that this ended, afraid of being left, angry because this feels unfair. When the inner world is described with this precision, compassion becomes possible. A failure is hard to care for. A tired, afraid, overextended nervous system is easier to meet with kindness. The second secret is learning to pause with self. In client work, silence is used to slow the pace, invite questions, create space. In inner life, the opposite often happens. The moment discomfort appears, the mind floods itself with noise, distraction, productivity, planning, scrolling, self-attack, anything but pause. Serving self well means offering the same courtesy that would be given to a respected client. Time to think, to feel, to answer honestly. Pauses can be small: a few breaths before saying yes, a brief walk before replying to a triggering message, a minute with hand on chest before opening the laptop in the morning. These tiny stops allow the system to register. Something is happening here, instead of being pushed forward by automatic habit. Over time, pausing becomes a form of loyalty to inner truth. A third secret is perhaps the most radical: being willing to give advice to self that is not convenient for ego or image. In client service, trust is built when guidance is offered that clearly goes against immediate self-interest, recommending the smaller deal, the slower path, the honest no. In inner service, something similar is needed. The ego's short-term interests are often: be liked by everyone, never disappoint, avoid all discomfort, maintain every appearance. Optimal self-service sometimes requires inner advice that contradicts these impulses. The advice might sound like, say no to this opportunity that looks impressive but feels wrong, or leave this situation that feeds status but poisons the nervous system, or rest now, even if production slows and others do not understand. This kind of advice costs something. That cost is exactly why it deepens trust with the self. It proves that inner guidance is not only a servant of vanity. The fourth secret is to ask open-ended questions inward, instead of only yes/no interrogations. With external clients, questions like, what matters most to you here? Or what worries you? Reveal underlying needs. Internally, the usual questions are often closed. Why am I like this? What is wrong? Will this ever work? These invite only self-accusation or despair. Serving self well means asking different inner questions. What is actually needed right now? Where is pain in the body? What would feel like relief that is not self-betrayal? How does this situation feel in the chest, in the stomach, in the jaw? These questions do not demand quick solutions. They invite relationship. Over time, they reveal patterns where energy drains, where joy quietly appears, where limits are thinner than imagined. The answers may be subtle, but they are the raw material for aligned choices. The fifth secret is choosing a fundamentally supportive inner tone. In professional service, showing up exhausted, complaining, unloading personal problems on the client would be considered unprofessional. Yet inside, the voice that meets this life is often permanently pessimistic, sarcastic, dismissive. It is as if an inner consultant follows every step, saying, "This will not work, ridiculous to even try. Others do this better." Optimal self-service cultivates a different baseline, not naive cheerleading, but a stable, encouraging tone. It might sound like, "This is difficult, and also there is capacity here," or "Today did not go as hoped, and still, effort was real," or "There is learning here, even if it looks like loss." Over time, this tone becomes a kind of inner climate in which growth is less terrifying, because attempts are not met only with ridicule. A sixth secret is drawing a bright line between true rest and numbing, and protecting that line. In business, there is caution about mixing serious work with too much social distraction. Priorities get diluted, clarity is lost. In inner life, overmixing is common. Rest time is filled with work emails. Supposed leisure is drowned in endless noise from screens. Genuine recovery is swapped for numbing behaviors that do not truly restore. Serving self well means honoring real rest as a sacred appointment. Sleep is not an optional extra, it is maintenance. Silence is not wasted time, it is digestion. Activities that actually bring nervous system regulation, nature, movement, art, prayer, slow conversations, are treated like important meetings, not leftovers. This has nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with respect. The seventh secret is humility in the way limits are treated. Humility with clients means acknowledging that they know their world better. Humility with self means recognizing that this system has real limits: biological, emotional, energetic. The ego enjoys the fantasy of being infinite. Infinite productivity, infinite availability, infinite resilience. The body knows otherwise. Optimal self-service listens to the body not as an obstacle, but as the wisest client in the room. It hears the headache that appears every time a certain line is crossed, the anxiety before seeing a particular person, the numbness after too many hours in front of a screen. Instead of overriding these signals with coffee and slogans, humility says, "This is intelligence. This is information. Adjustments are not weakness, they are wisdom." An eighth secret is responsiveness, showing inner life that signals are not ignored. Good client service responds quickly even if the full answer is not yet known. In inner service, the same principle applies. When sadness appears and is consistently pushed away, trust erodes. When anger rises and is always swallowed without any boundary or expression, the system learns that its alarms are useless. Serving self well means responding to emotional emails, so to speak. That does not mean acting on every impulse, but at least acknowledging sadness was noticed, hurt was registered, fear is here. Sometimes the response is as simple as taking a pause, writing a line in a journal, speaking a few honest words to a safe person. The message to the deeper layers is, experience here matters. It is not going to be endlessly archived without reading. The ninth secret is taking real positions on this own behalf. In professional contexts, clients want clear recommendations, not endless ambiguity. Inside, there is often a reluctance to take positions. Part of the self knows a relationship is over, but stays in a fog of maybe. Another part knows a job is crushing the soul, but keeps repeating, "It's not that bad, others would be grateful." Optimal self-service includes moments of inner courage. This is no longer acceptable. This path is right to follow. This dynamic is harming and must be changed or left. These positions do not need to be shouted. They do need to be taken. Remaining permanently neutral about one's own well-being is not noble. It is abandonment. A 10th secret is gently reclaiming control of the inner meeting. Externally, a well-run meeting has a purpose and is not hijacked by every tangent. Internally, many allow any passing thought, memory, or external voice to take over the entire space. One criticism echoes for days. One imagined scenario hijacks hours. Optimal self-service does not try to suppress all distraction. It does, however, remember that there is a center. When a thought tries to drag everything into panic, a wiser part can step in. That is noted. It will be addressed, but not allowed to define the whole day. This is not about rigid mental control. It is about not letting the most frightened or angry part run every conversation. An 11th secret is having an agenda for the day that includes the self and writing it down. In client work, agendas clarify expectations and reduce anxiety. In inner life, days are often structured entirely around others' needs. The only agenda is the to-do list for external obligations. Optimal self-service introduces a parallel list, concrete ways in which this life will be served today. That might include 30 minutes of sleep before midnight, one honest conversation, 10 minutes without any screens, saying no once where yes would be self-betrayal, something that brings beauty or play. Written down, these items become real priorities, not fantasies. At the end of the day, just as follow UPS are recapped with a client, there can be a brief check-in. What was actually done for this inner being today? What was promised but dropped? This is not for punishment, it is for accuracy. Behind all these secrets lies one central shift, treating the self as a sacred client rather than as a disposable resource. In many spiritual traditions, there is an image of the body or the soul as a temple, a garden, a guest house. The question is not only what is being given to others through this life, but also how is the source being cared for. Those who serve themselves with respect, through sleep, boundaries, truthfulness, aligned choices, refusal to abandon their deeper knowing, are not selfish. They are building the capacity to show up for others without secretly rotting inside. From this perspective, the old phrase, "you cannot pour from an empty cup," is less cliché and more operational. Secrets to optimal self-service are, in the end, secrets to being able to serve anything else well: relationships, work, art, causes. A clear, rested, respected system can listen better, create more deeply, love more honestly, stand more firmly in the face of pressure. The client, that is this own life, was the first one assigned and will be the last one left. How it is treated will shape everything that passes through it. If this way of thinking about self-service resonates, that resonance itself is a signal from someplace inside that is tired of being last on the list. For more explorations on emotional healing, nervous system wisdom, spiritual psychology, and the art of living in deeper alignment, subscribing keeps these reflections close. Liking this video helps this conversation about self-respect reach others who are slowly burning out in the name of service. Sharing it with someone who gives everything to everyone else might offer a needed mirror. And if one concrete act of self-service came to mind while listening, a boundary, a night of real sleep, a difficult yes or no, naming it in the comments can be the first deliberate move towards serving this own life with the respect it has always deserved.